La La Land's back at it. The celebrity madness hitting a whole new level with their latest attacks against President Trump. Here's a late-night talk show host, Seth Meyers.
Trump is totally incoherent and capable of telling the truth. He shouldn't get to address the nation just to repeat his lies. If he calls up the networks asking for airtime, they should pick up the phone and say,
President Trump? We don't know who that is.
Tough guy Robert De Niro continuing his attacks, now calling Trump a, quote, white supremacist and a real racist who is bad for the country. And actor Samuel L. Jackson jumping on the bandwagon, tweeting his endorsement of Congresswoman Rashid Tlaib's use of extreme profanity to describe the president. Dana, do you notice a difference in the assaults on the president of the United States compared to George W. Bush and now Donald J. Trump?
Bad.
Pretty bad back then,
It was pretty bad. But they didn't call him a white supremacist. That was not it. But it was really had to do with the war. And there was a lot of anger and frustration after the recount. So
right.
I'm not excusing any of it, but
that was policy-driven, it seems like, because the war really agitated a lot of people in Hollywood.
Well, the thing for George W. Bush is they said he was stupid.
Right.
Right? Everyone thought they were smarter than he was.
Do they think that about President Trump, too?
I'm sure that they do. And this is interesting for Hollywood, for me. I've never been enamored with it. If you ask me, who would you most like to have dinner with? I would never choose somebody from Hollywood. It just doesn't. I don't want to actually get to know them. I don't think that what they have to say is all that interesting. In fact, what they mostly say, for example, on the white supremacist piece or in repeating the expletive against the president last week, it just shows a real lack of ability to think.
Greg, do you dislike the fact that you have favorite actors like a Samuel L. Jackson or Robert De Niro who you love their movies, but then when they talk politics, you're like, oh my gosh, what is he saying?
It's disappointing because it tells you two things: that the most outspoken in Hollywood think alike because it's lockstep, and the people you don't hear from, you can assume are conservative because they're not talking.
They never talk.
So it's all run. And in this is not, to your point about Bush, this is not new, all right? I mean, Trump just happens to be the latest trigger in all of this, and he's a proxy for half the country that Hollywood looks down. They don't like Trump. They don't like half the country.
And the first one for social media.
But I got to tell you, you know who should send roses every day to Donald Trump? George Takei, a.k.a. Sulu, who now has a new TV show. And it's not because of what his career has been, because I don't remember him being in on anything since Star Trek, but it's his Trump-triggered tweets. And that has breathed new life into George Takei, and he's actually kind of funny. But my point is, a lot of these people owe it to Trump because they were nowhere. Now they're somewhere.
Juan, do you think this kind of, these kind of slanderous statements against the president, outrageous, they get on Fox News, do you think that makes the Democratic Party as a whole look bad?
To who? I mean, obviously it's subjective, but I mean, I guess you're talking about to Republicans?
To average Americans, independents, people that are not totally tuned in.
I don't approve of the profane language, if that's what you mean. And obviously, you sit next to me every day. I don't like the bullying. I don't like the personal attacks that the president engages in. And I think imitating that behavior is not attractive to me, and I don't think it's attractive to most people. But obviously some people excuse it and say, big deal, not to them. I will say this. I think the big issue here is not somehow that there are Hollywood elites that people like or don't like. It's that people are saying this president lies constantly. Tonight, the worry is he's going to lie again, tell more lies, and then people get frustrated and angry and use profanity. But I would just come back to the actual issue. Let's stick to the facts. Let's not make up stories in order to justify actions of a tyrant. Let's not do that.
Well, I think the president will be fact-checked by his own staff and by the mainstream media.
Never happened to Obama.
I don't see the tyrant analogy, Juan, but let's move on to Emily. When you look at these celebrities saying these things, do you think they have as much influence as they used to, or do people just tune them out?
No, definitely not. And I think that's statistically proven right now that in terms of the younger generation, the much more profound influencers are YouTube and internet sensations whose names we wouldn't recognize. But
Greg Gutfeld.
That's what. But that's what's having the influence. To me, the common theme of Hollywood and in the Hollywood versus Trump is just the hypocrisy. It's ridiculous to me for this kind of insular community that has the highest, for example, the highest level of homelessness in the in the entire United States with the highest median of housing. You know, it's almost $1 million. And these are the guys saying that the guy in the Oval Office is the one perpetuating a polarized society, or that he's the one that doesn't care about low-income or minority communities. And one of the quotes that we read by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that says, the GOP lost entitlement to policing women's behavior a long time ago. Oh, like, in this regard, like, Hollywood still has that honor? Like, oh, that's right, because women have been respected economically, sexually, and in the market all around by Hollywood this entire time. So every time a celebrity opens their mouth with just such a vitriol that isn't policy-based, I just think they're a hypocrite.
It's a good question if they're more influential now. But I think if they were influential, Hillary Clinton would be president.
That's true. That Jay-Z and Beyonce rally would have put her over the top in
remember
Pennsylvania.
Katy Perry?
Yeah, and remember, every mouth that was espousing that stuff about Trump kissed Harvey Weinstein's ass.
Ooh.
Totally.
Well, I just think
let's leave you with that thought, America.